Now, the next theme that we're going to talk about is the theme of materialism and greed. And when you talk about materialism or greed in this book, who comes to mind? Who? Who? Yeah, you got that right. Ole Kylo and Olusidori. That was exactly my thought. Now, when I think about these two people, they have portrayed the role, the theme of materialism and greed in so many different ways, and we're going to talk about some of the points. Now, the first point that I'm going to talk about is materialism, whereby Ole Kylo was a very materialistic person, because considering the fact that his shop in Asila was extravagant, it was well built, it was fashionably built, even though considering the kind of people that were in Asila. The decor was all expensive, and this was to lure in the rich people like Olusudori and the likes. Now, this shows clearly that Ole Kylo was a very materialistic person. Now, the second point is Ole Kylo was also a very, very greedy person, because he agrees to marry off his daughter Resian to Olusudori so as to pay off his debts. You remember that he engaged in business deals with Olusudori, and the money was a lot, I suppose, so the only way to pay off his debts was agreeing to have Resian, his daughter, his second-born daughter, to marry off this greedy man known as Olusudori. Now, the third point that I'm going to talk about is materialism. Now, materialism was seen also in Ole Kylo again, in the fact that when he went to see the house that was built for Resian in Milimani Estate, you do recall this time that Olusudori took Mama Milanoi and Ole Kylo to go and see the posh place that he had built for Resian if she allowed to become his wife. Now we see that the house is well built, and do you remember that Ole Kylo just was very, very much astonished looking at that house, and in his mind he was thinking, only a stupid woman, only a foolish woman like Resian would refuse to take all this wealth. Now that shows that Ole Kylo was also a very greedy person. Now let us talk about Olusudori. Now let us first finish off with Ole Kylo. Now, you do remember the time when he went to Nasila, he went to meet his very, very close friend, that is Ole Supeo. Now, Ole Supeo told him not to engage in any business deals with Olusidori. But did Ole Kylo listen? No. That shows that he was a very greedy person, because later on in chapter 8, we do see where he's in his bed leading, and he was very, very confused in bed, and he was thinking and saying, only the rich, the most successful, only those people that wanted to prosper were the most successful business in Asila. Now that meant he wanted to be a very successful person, and for that to become true, the only way it would be when he engages in business deals with Olusudori. He says the rich are the ones who want to prosper in this, and that is how he shows the theme of greediness in the book Blossoms of the Savannah. Now let us also talk about Olusudori. Olusudori was a very, very materialistic person, because you do recall the first time that he went to the Ole Kylo's home, he came with these very big and posh cars. He came wearing golden rings, bracelets, chains, an expensive watch. He wore designer clothes. That shows that Olusudori was a very, very materialistic person. Now also, materialistic is also shown in the fact that you do remember the time when he came to the Ole Kylo's homestead. He gave all the women of the Kylos family gifts. He gave Mama Milanoi a gift. He gave Tayo a gift. He also gave Resian a gift. Now that shows that he was a very wealthy man, and that shows that he was a very, very materialistic person. And also he gave Ole Kylo a briefcase full of money, which later on he came to realize that it was 500,000 Kenyan shillings, which was to pay off the dowry for Resian. Now also, we do realize another point is Olusudori was also a very greedy person, because he engaged in very, very many businesses. Like for instance, he dealt in deals or in businesses such as finance, tourism, import and export, mining, motor trade, agriculture. All that is seen in page 101, where we see all sorts of business that Olusudori engages in, and most of them were not actually legal. And we see that he was a very greedy person, because he wanted to engage in all sorts of businesses. Whenever he saw an opportunity, he grabbed it. Whenever he saw a business deal, he always made sure to be involved in it, and that shows that he was a very, very greedy person. Now the other point that you're going to see is Olisudori wants to marry Resian, which refuses, but later on Resian escapes, and his greed makes him to go and marry the other sister, that is Tayo. That shows that he was a very, very greedy person. You do remember that Ole Supeo rather, he warned Ole Kaelo and he told him to keep his daughters away because Ole Sudori was a very, very villainous person. But still, you see that Ole Kaelo agreed to have one of his daughters marry Ole Sudori, and when Resian escaped, Olisudo was like, no, I've already paid the dowry, so I'm going to take the other girl as I'm looking for the other girl, and in return, both the girls are going to be my wives. Now, that is those are some of the points that I'm going to talk about in materialism and greed in the book Blossoms of the Savannah.